Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully. Short part today, but yeah, kinda didn't want to make the last part too long. Anyway, we're now playing as Niobe again, and well, Axel ain't feeling too good. He's part of the 1%. So we gotta get some parachutes and assimilate some backs to the folds. I promise I wouldn't do that voice again. I'm sorry. It's just kind of addicted, really. But anyway, if you think this level is just fighting very easy to take down police and there's nothing that's gonna go wrong, keep that optimism, because I'm sure absolutely nothing terrible will ever happen to dear old Niobe and Axel. Yes sirree, with those parachutes in tow, I'm sure we'll get out of the plane and escape with absolutely no casualties. And if you're thinking about getting the preemptive, no, you can't go into the pilot's area. Sadly.
Niobe?
Yes, it's me. You're gonna be alright. Let's get out of here. Damn. You can't walk.
Maybe. Stand.
You've got to focus. We don't have much time. Trust me. You'll feel much better when you wake up.
You won't be needing that.
So, if you remember the little spiel that I gave earlier, no, you can't directly fight an agent because, as Morpheus says, everybody who has fought an agent has died. And, you know, since we're not Neo, we can't exactly take him on, so there's only one thing we can do. Basically just sort of keep him at bay while we open the pod bay doors. I don't know why I said that, I kinda had 2001: A Space Odyssey on the brain. Basically we just open up the plane and try and push the agent out. This can either be very easy or very difficult depending on certain circumstances. You might see this as we get to it. It's just really a matter of trying to keep the agent away from you, because you can't interact with any objects when you're in combat, which is basically when you're entering the Kung Fu stance and, you know, you're circling around them. You need to get out, which is easier said than done, because the agent is, you know, trained to chase you, and, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's not what I was talking about. As you can see, you press that button, open up the airlock, and, there's this little thing where, again, it's relatively easy to get the agent in a grapple and to kick him out, but I mean, getting him close to the edge is kind of dangerous, because he can surprise you with his occasional little killing boy moves, which he'll use to, you know, punch you out of the plane. But I mean, besides the fact that the agents can take off a decent chunk of your health, you know, as is demonstrated here, another thing that likes to happen is that the plane occasionally shakes due to turbulence, because, well, you know, there's no pilot anymore, and yeah, that'll basically put the agent right back inside the plane, and you gotta basically focus on trying to get him out again. It only really happens if he's towards, like, the very edge, and again, I don't know what triggers it, if it's just something that just happens because the game occasionally programs it to, or if it's because it's just a measure of trying to make the boss fight quote-unquote harder. Either way, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, so yeah, like that. It'll move him right back inside the plane, and that's kind of aggravating, to be honest, so I don't think the player generally needs that sort of annoyance, but again, if you're good at what you're trying to do, keep on jump kicking him, which is the most successful strategy I've found, and kicking him off when he's on the ground like that, you should be good. So that's the end of Niobe's segment, and we'll be seeing what happens to her a little bit later, but oh my god, what is this? It's Celldweller! Switchback, Celldweller, an artist which I love so very much. Clayton, have my babies. Oh, that's kind of awkward because he's a dude, and so am I, so it's not really gonna work, but fuck it, whatever, I'll keep those fantasies out of it. Yeah, basically, since the plane is going bye-bye and we saw Axel jump out moments prior, yeah, basically we need to go off and chase after him, and well, word of warning, use the analog stick to accelerate. If you use the X button, which is pressure sensitive, as was a lot of games back in the day, yeah, you're not catching up, and well, avoid running into those washing machines. I don't exactly know what the hell those things are supposed to be. Yeah, just use the analog stick, do your best to handle the game's shitty driving controls, and try and do your best to keep in balance with the plane. You'll tell when you're getting further away and close to a game over if you lose it, because Sparks will say, stay close to the plane. Unfortunately, there is no Big Smoke-esque line of, "All you had to do was follow the damn plane, Ghost!" And then he walks off and tells you to fuck off and die, which makes you very sad. But regardless of such, yeah, it's only really the beginning segment of this driving section that's a pain in the ass. After that, not too bad, provided that you keep on the move. Yeah, that's the line. Oh god. Many ways to game overs. But yeah, once you hear the message, someone's out of the plane, it's Axel, that's when you can kind of breathe a little bit easier, but, you know, don't rest easy because the agents are still after Axel, so yeah, you gotta be on the ball with this one. But I mean, one thing I will say is that, like, I mean, despite the shitty driving controls, there's really no difference between Niobe's car and the vehicle that you're controlling here. It's still just as floaty and very easy to... Well, the handling is very shit, I'll just say that much. But I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me being very ADHD, but I mean, I like the flashing lights, and the music is good, so, you know, it calms my nerves despite some of my minor frustrations with this level. I don't know, like, I mean, I know Celldweller music was like kind of all the thing back in the early 2000s, but I mean, I just love it, man. I mean, granted, I think a lot of Clayton's more recent music has kind of strayed away from the sort of sound that he has in the self-titled, save for some remixes, whether by the man himself or by people who've just remixed his work over the years, but I mean, you know, I always have honestly, I do have a very big soft spot for, you know, the first Celldweller album. It is, honestly, it is one of my favourite albums of all time. Like, I don't know, that's just its mixture of electronica, metal, rock. It's just, to me, it was a perfect album, and I've basically fallen in love with it ever since I played this game. This was, like, my introduction to Celldweller, and it's made me a fan of, you know, Clayton ever since, so... Yeah, that's the power of video games, man. They can introduce you to bands and genres that you never would have gotten into otherwise, so... Yeah, that's, for any upcoming musicians out there, this is a prime opportunity to get your work seen, so... Yeah, cozy up to some video game developers and, go to town, dudes. And again, I think you're kind of seeing the problems that come with driving's handling, especially as they expect you to go around tight corners. Like, I mean, I've played games with very rough driving controls, to say the least, like, you know, Grand Theft Auto 4, LA Noire, and, you know, I guess if I could use... Well, I wouldn't really use Shadow as an example, because that wasn't really designed with driving in mind, but, you know, when you're designing things with tight corners, you want cars that have decent handling, and I think handling above all else is... you know, a pretty important factor, depending on, you know, whether or not people are going to like your driving minigame, because... And again, this is something I also do plan to bring up, if I ever get around to reviewing Jak 2, but I mean, Crash Team Racing, like, is the example I'm going to use, but... In that game, you feel like you're in complete control of the car every step of the way, and to me, that's good, because it means the player can, you know, utilize the level design a lot more depending on their skill level, because, you know, they're in complete control, and it's up to them to master the level design. I think all driving games should really take to that philosophy. I mean, obviously there should be some exceptions depending on, you know, games that have modifications for your cars and all that sort of thing, but generally speaking, if you're going to include a driving, like, minigame, make sure that it has good handling. Again, I know that sounds like very no-shit common sense kind of stuff, but I mean, it's rather important, so... you know, don't intentionally give your game shitty control. But I mean, regardless of such, enjoy the music. Celldweller, ladies and gentlemen. Support Clayton and his work. Buy it now for the PC, Dreamcast, PS3, and Wii.
guess you were due for some luck.
Did you get Soren out?
Yeah. And the rest of the fleet.
Good. Let's get the hell out of here.
Alright, Axel. That's your dust off.
You know, there's a lot of guys who wouldn't have done what you did. I thank you for it.
You would have.
It was that or kill you.
I'm just glad fate brought you to the airport.
I'm not sure you'll agree with that tomorrow. Just tell Soren midnight. He'll know the place.
He is fast, I will say that.
"72 hours. 72 hours.
What did you just say?
That's exactly how long Zion lasted last time.
What do you mean and who are you?
Me? Nobody. Just a spectator enjoying the ride. 72 hours.